Hi, everybody. This is Laurie Palmer, and I'm going to talk about pastoral transitions. That information can be found in the COM Handbook, Section 3, on pages 18 through 20. And just know that we're going to talk about a lot of information in a short period of time right now for a job that you're going to do over the course of several months. So when you are a liaison for a PNC, just take it a bit at a time. Two things to remember about this task in particular and being on COM in general is one, no one knows everything. It's just the truth. No one knows everything. We are a community of saints helping pastors and congregations in their ministries. And the COM handbook helps. It helps to read about process, but experience is going to be the real teacher. So if you don't know something, ask someone who's been at this for a while. It's okay. Two, confidentiality is of utmost importance. We hold our colleagues' lives with care when they reveal that God is showing them a new path. Confidentiality and social media do not mix. You know that. Someone on Facebook knows somebody else who knows someone else, and on, and then you discover just how small Presbyterian world is. A bit of information that you think is innocuous could do great harm to a pastor and congregation when it's posted. So the process. When a pastor discerns that a new call is on the horizon, he or she contacts the general presbyter. We hope that happens. The stated clerk will know when a new personal information form has been uploaded because the stated clerk signs off that the pastor is a member in good standing in the presbytery. So once the general presbyter and the stated clerk know that a pastor is seeking a new call, you as the COM liaison will be contacted. And when you find out, you will contact that pastor and talk about what the proposed timeline is and when the session should be notified. Once the session is notified, it will call a congregational meeting to dissolve the pastoral relationship. You can begin to gather resources for the session, which will be provided to you. So when a pastor resigns or retires, all the feelings. Grief. This is a beloved pastor, perhaps someone who hasn't even been with them that long or who has been with them for decades. In some cases, the session will be shocked. I thought he or she would stay till retirement. So grief. And grief can look a lot like anger. How could he leave us? Look at how much we did for her. I thought he loved us. Anger rises too if something untoward happened to cause the pastor to resign or to retire. You know what? There may be joy or relief. The pastor just was not a congregant's favorite, or maybe just not a good match with the congregation. And there could be relief if the conflict was an issue with the pastor. All the feelings, and one runs through them all, and that's anxiety. What's going to happen to us now? I think the first and fourth question here are asked a lot. The sky is falling. We don't know what to do. Will the church survive? So as a COM liaison, you allow the session and or the congregation to move through the feelings, help them not move into grief, anger, or anxiety permanently. It's okay to feel those things for a little while. And interim will help them with those feelings. We can't move into those feelings permanently. We'd get stuck. And we can't be healthy if we're stuck that way. So help them look at this from a theologically and a spiritual position. This is God at work. This is God. God's doing a new thing in the pastor's life, and God is also doing a new thing in the congregation's life. Refer to Isaiah 43:19, for I am about to do something new. See, I have already begun. Do you not see it? Remember who we serve and worship. You'll meet with a session and you'll remind them that God's seeing us through even when we cannot see or perceive. Listen to them and then help them move through the process. And you will help them. They will be appreciative of you. Just do it one step at a time. Having something before them, a process, does help them. And start by having them assign a task group to decide how to celebrate the pastor as he or she leaves. You'll do exit interviews with the pastor and the session. Write a report that will be helpful for the COM. It will also be helpful to the interim pastor who comes in to work with them. Presbytery will concur to dissolve the pastoral relationship. A COM discernment team will be appointed to visit with the session, and you'll discern together where they are and what kind of pastoral leadership they need next. Does the church need an interim pastor? Did the pastor leave well? Is the congregation relatively healthy? Is there conflict and has there been a split? How are the finances? Is the church in a position to call another installed pastor, either part or full time? What are the church's options? There is, as you know, not just one way a pastor leaves and how they leave. Also, there's not just one way pastors can serve congregations. Here are types of pastoral service in Mission Presbytery. You'll see the installed, which requires a PNC and also a vote of the congregation. And then there are other temporary positions like interim and parish associate and stated supply, and those would be contracts with the session. You'll have this sheet to refer to. For churches who call installed pastors part-time or full-time, a pastor nominating committee, PNC, will be elected. The session will call a congregational meeting to nominate and elect a PNC. And you'll meet with them at the first meeting. Be available to the PNC throughout the process and communicate with the chair of the committee and encourage other PNC members to funnel their questions through the chair. Gosh, it can really get into a tangled web of triangles if you talk to various people on the PNC all the time. So just try to talk to the chair of the commission about their questions. At their first meeting, pray with them and assure them that you'll be with them through the search process. They'll elect a chair and a secretary, and the chair will be the primary contact with the candidates and with the COM liaison, as I mentioned, and the secretary will take minutes. Talk to them about the importance of praying their way through the search, knowing that God is leading them. Walk through the ministry information form with them and encourage them as they go through this to write who they really are and not what dream church they want or even the church they think they are. No, have them write who they really authentically are. Um, the reason is so that they can be well matched with a pastor. But encourage them also to cast a vision, and the essay questions will help them do that. Point them to the resource on calling a pastor, and I have the site there for you to give them. Confidentiality versus keeping secrets. As noted before, confidentiality is a vital part of the process. It builds trust and it protects candidates. And it's also just a matter of integrity. But this is not a secret process. PNCs have gotten in trouble with congregants when they hold confidence so tightly that no one knows what's going on. Encourage the PNC to communicate with the congregation where they are in the process. They can do that in the bulletin or the newsletter or even with a chart on the bulletin board. They can say, for example, we're just starting our work and we're being trained and we really have nothing to report yet. Just things like that along the way that helps the congregation know where they are. What the PNC can expect from the congregation is prayer support. Have the PNC specifically ask the congregation for that. They can expect plenty of questions and advice from the congregation, so encourage them to keep their answers to process, again, so as not to harm the confidentiality of candidates. Congregants will tell PNC members what kind of pastor they want. Honor that. Listen and hear them, but make no promises. Remind them that God is doing a new thing and leading the PNC. PNC, encourage them to use their manners. Remind them that every PIF that comes to them, every one of them deserves a response. It can be a brief response, but every single one, every PIF represents a person. Unfortunately, all too often, this does not happen, even with candidates who make the final cut. PNCs will call a pastor and not tell the other two candidates that they've done that. So please encourage them to communicate. I've listed some examples of what they can say in emails or letters or whatever to potential candidates. I'm not going to read all those to you. You're going to have this list with you. Give the PNC a copy of the Terms of Call form. They don't need it right away, but they can become familiar with it. And then tell the PNC this: don't fall in love with a pastor immediately. The general presbyter will conduct a presbyter to presbyter reference check. Background checks will be conducted by the stated clerk. If a red flag arises, trust the general presbyter and stated clerk that there is a red flag and stop the process with the candidate. We may not be able to tell you what that red flag is. There could also be a yellow flag, some minor things, something that you can discern with the PC. And finally, this really can be one of the most rewarding tasks of being a COM liaison to congregations. You learn so much, and you come to know and love the people you're working alongside of. It builds trust in the presbytery and the connectional nature of the church. Have fun with your PCs. Here are the resources that are in the COM Dropbox: types of pastoral service and mission presbytery, on calling a pastor, 2021 COM pastor transition list. It's a checklist for the PNC, and they can use that as they do their work. And it includes a chart from on calling a pastor. I wish you well in your endeavors as COM liaisons as churches make pastoral transitions. God bless you.